Got another shoot today. This one we're doing an announcement for a pro gamer, Rocket League player. So we're at this studio here in Dallas called Films by Prophecy. Do some interview, do some B-roll, just get a bunch of deliverables, do some photos, stuff like that for the org that's hiring me out. I think I'm just gonna light top down, have him sitting here for the interview, just something dramatic. Just a black room, So it's been a while since I've rented out any studios in Dallas. It's been a few years since I've gone through this process, and there are way more options on the market now. So this particular studio is by the owner of Films by Prophecy. He's a pretty big music video director here in Dallas. And in here, we also rented the lasers. So there's going to be lasers up top, and then they also have these like spotlights that they can kind of move around, which are really cool. And so I'm deciding to do the interviews first because it usually takes the longest to set up, setting up the audio, setting up the lighting and everything like that, and then asking the questions and just drawing all that out from the player. I always find it's the easiest way to make them comfortable, get them comfortable with being on camera, get them comfortable with me, and then when we move into the shooting process, it's a little more natural. So this is when this iPad app actually comes in handy, because now I can use the iPad and my phone to control my lights and to see my monitor. So like I say, this monitor and control app on the iPad is really cool. It's just a wireless monitor for the FX6, and just for the sake of being able to like walk over here, frame myself and look at it, because I can also look exactly where I would be sitting, and then whenever I'm just moving lights or making sure that like my boom pulls in, you know, I can bring it with me, walk over here, set it down and check it. So it's a great little app. I mean, I think it's perfect for exactly this scenario right here. So I'm sure this would make some audio guys quake, but I didn't have enough cable to run it all the way down to me so I could monitor it. So I'm basically adapting it from here and then into there as well to get my F6 pulled over here where I can like listen while I'm filming. So I've had a couple people asking me how I do these interviews, what questions I ask, what is the process that I use for these. And I struggled with interviews for a while. But pretty much my go-to is to obviously make eye contact with them the whole time, give them someone to talk to when they're talking, and then I'm listening to their answer with whatever question I ask. So in this particular situation, I had questions given to me that I had to ask, and then while he's talking, I'm doing my best to come up with questions that I can ask due to his answer that he's given me. So I'll let some of this play out right here, and you can kind of see what I do, the route I take, and then hopefully this will help people with trying to get interviews, because I know I struggled with these for a while. Let's talk about gaming, just in general. Did you grow up gaming for most of your life? You know, when were you first introduced to gaming in general? So right there, that was a question that I was given to ask. Now I'm going to listen to what he has to say. And then here in a second, you'll hear me ask something based off of the answer he gave me, not based off of a question that I was provided. What was it about Rocket League at that time that like kept you into it? Because it, you know, obviously what players do now is far, you know, greater than what they did when the game first came out. But what had you like hooked into getting better? So I don't know if this helps at all. I know this is kind of a quick, rough and dirty example. If you do want, you know, a better video of me explaining it or something, I'd be happy to make something like that just to kind of show you. And I'm not the best at them or anything like that, but I do know that I had some struggles there at first, just understanding how to conduct an interview. I do feel confident now in an interview and understanding how to ask questions, how to pivot the conversation and stuff like that. So this was the B cam. This was shot on the A7S III, but it's also the perfect angle to show you exactly how I lit this. So the Aperture MC is his hair light. It's just bringing him out of the shadow, keeping him from falling off into the darkness. I have my Rode NTG mic just out of frame as usual. That's the only audio source I used here. And then I have my Aperture 600X with the Light Dome Mini 2 and the grid to kind of help from that spill. I wanted to create a very contrasty shadow and light side for this one. And I'm a sucker for these B cam shots that kind of just show the bigger picture. When I had mentioned that to Zach, who would be editing this, he agreed. So that's what we went with for this shot. So here's the main shot. This was shot on my Tamron 35-150. It was at 35, f2 I do believe. As far as the whole setup goes, I actually really like it. I think that I probably could have wrapped the light around his face just a little bit more. His right eye is just kind of lost in the darkness. I do like the hair light that I went with, and I like the way that we set up the two lights in the back to kind of just add a little bit more interest to the background instead of just being in infinite black. But overall, very happy with the interview setup. But as always, I love the criticism. So if you see something in this that you think I should have changed or disagree with me on, please let me know below. How would you shoot it? How would you light it? I'm always curious to hear. So now it's time to get into the fun part. This was definitely a really cool studio. They had a lot of good lighting options that we could play with. The spotlights honestly are something that I didn't expect to use. We were able to play with the lighting a lot whenever it came to movement, whenever it came to creating suspense, stuff like that. They also had a 200X with the grid that you could see up there shining down that we were able to turn on and off. This is also fantastic for adding fill. So this is one of those shoots. I do get to show you some of the final footage. So when shooting a lot of this footage, I didn't have a direction that I was trying to take it. I do have a lot of experience when it comes to shooting a lot of this esports stuff, and so I knew the general idea of what I wanted, just hype stuff to just show off the player, things like that. Things that help them build the storyline, to build suspense around this new player. And so a lot of this stuff is just me winging it. It's just playing with the lights. It's the manager of the studio, you know, telling me what he can and can't do. He turns it on, we try it out, we're adding fill, we're adding the lights, we're doing backlight, front light, stuff like that. There wasn't really a shot list going into this. I just knew the general idea of the video that they were trying to make. And so therefore, I just got to play around for about an hour and a half to 2 hours with all these different lights and stuff. This was the one issue I did run into with the lasers, is there was just this constant flicker. I tried every shutter angle that I could possibly try on my FX6. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I just can't dial it in exactly correct on my FX6 or if there's just something I'm missing. And that was pretty much it. I did take some photos that they had requested on my A7S II. This is something I talked about in my last vlog. Just kind of like in a weird spot where I don't know if the A7S II is enough to get the photos I need and everything, but I really don't have a desire to go out and buy like an A7R4 or anything like that. Until that becomes an issue, or until photography just starts making me a ton of money, I'm just going to stick with shooting on the A7S II for photos. If you have any questions about this shoot or anything like that, let me know and I would be happy to answer them. Any feedback on the shots you saw as well, please let me see them down in the comments below. If you want to be a part of our DFW filmmaker group, if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, follow me at LensofJared on Instagram, DM me, and I will get you put into that group. Other than that, I am debating starting some kind of Discord channel or something like that for filmmakers that maybe we can all come together. We can talk shop, we can show off the stuff that we're shooting, we could talk gear, everything like that. So if you have any interest in that at all, let me know. Finally getting around to doing a what's in my case video. Honestly, these videos are fun to do when I have the time because I get to just play with the lighting. We have the overhead cam mounted to my C-stand, which looks really good on the 14 to 24. And I have my Tamron 35 to 150 over here as my main cam. I decided to go with having the case shown in here. I just thought it made it a little more interesting. Aperture 600X, bouncing some light from the ceiling. And then I have my 200X kind of lighting up my case. That way, when I go to show the camera, you can see it. One thing I noticed, I was getting a ton of spill over from my shadow side. And so I didn't want that. So I basically took a C-stand. I grabbed 2 knuckles and a piece of cardboard and just used it to flag off some of that light. So not professional, but it works. So